Hi, so now we're going to do social studies together. We'll read the lesson together and then we'll answer the questions kind of together, a little bit together. I'll help you out as much as I can without actually giving you all the answers. We'll see. Okay, so you'll need your social studies book and you can get out paper and pen, or you can wait until later to do it. So we'll start on page 114, lesson 1, land and water resources. People use natural resources to live. A natural resource is something found in nature that people can use. People use air. People, plants, and animals need clean air to live. Some people use moving air to bring power to their homes. A wind turbine uses the wind's energy to produce electricity. So these are wind turbines or windmills. I don't know if you've ever been out to Palm Springs, but on the way to Palm Springs, they have a ton of these on the 10 freeway on the way to Palm Springs. And that gives the electricity for all of Palm Springs area, Palm Desert, Cathedral City. They have them all going out that way because it's so windy. Because Rancho Cucamonga is so windy, they could probably use some wind turbines and get all the energy also. So how do people use air? You use it to breathe. We need air to breathe. We also use it to create energy. It's a different energy other than using oil or electricity, right? It makes its own electricity. Page 115, people use water. People use water for drinking, cooking, cleaning, and growing plants for food. Like air, water can also be used to produce electricity. In some dams, water produces electricity by flowing through and turning big machines. So up at the top of 115 is the Wolf Creek Dam in Kentucky. So do we have a dam that's local? We do. The Hoover Dam in Nevada is a huge, huge dam that produces electricity. I don't know of anyone. We used to have one off the 91, but I don't know if it's because we've had so much drought. I don't know if it still has, if it had water in it anymore. So, how do people use water? For drinking, we have to have water to drink. Remember, we can only last a few days without water. And cooking, cleaning, we've been doing a lot of that, right? Washing our hands, making sure we stay clean and healthy. Growing plants for food, right? We need to have that. And they also use it to make electricity. So how do wind turbines help people? How do you think wind turbines help people? That's right. It makes electricity for people to use in their house rather than using oil or other forms of electricity that are more expensive. Okay, let's turn the page. Page 116. People use land. Another natural resource is land. We grow plants and build houses on land. Trees are a very useful natural resource. Some farmers grow trees that make fruits and nuts. People use wood from trees to build furniture and homes. They also use wood to make paper. Under the ground, people can find other natural resources such as coal, oil, and natural gas. People dig and drill for these resources and make them into fuel. A fuel is a resource that can be burned for heat or energy. So the picture that's on page 117 is a machine they use to drill for oil. So I don't know if you've ever been to Huntington Beach, but on the way to Huntington Beach and near Huntington, like across the street, they have a lot of those oil rigs because it was filled with oil. When I was a kid, we'd go to Huntington Beach all the time because I lived down that way. And we'd get tar on the bottom of our feet. And it was the residue from the oil that was seeping up from the ground. So I don't think that happens anymore, but if you want to see one of those, there's a bunch of them in Huntington Beach. So they do have them locally. So how do people use land? Okay, that's right. We use land to grow plants on farms. We use it to build homes on land. We use it to get fuel The fuel that's inside the ground is coal, oil, and natural gas. Well, we don't use a lot of coal for energy here because we don't have coal. But back east, they use a lot of coal for energy. And it's they want to move away from that because it can make the air dirty. Okay, they're finding new ways to use it to make the air cleaner when they're processing the coal. Oil is what gasoline starts out to be. So that we use that for our cars and anything else that has a gas motor. And of course, we're using more electricity in our cars now. So some people have hybrids, which is electric and gasoline. And some people just have an electric car that you can plug in and use electricity. Natural gas is what we use in Southern California. We have a lot of natural gas under the ground. And that is what a lot of people use for their stoves and their washing machines and dryers, their heating, to heat the house, to heat their water. Natural gas has no color and no smell, so they add it to that so that people know when it's on, so that, because if you have the gas on and you breathe it, you can get sick. So that's why it has that smell. So when you turn on the stove and you see that blue light, that's to let us know that there's natural gas coming out, and you'll have that smell, and that's to let us know that there's gas coming out so that we don't have it on accidentally and make ourselves sick. So, why do you think some people in some places built homes from mud? Because some people didn't have wood, so they would build their home using mud and grass or straw, some type of, and it would make brick. And they would build their home using that rather than wood. So everything on pages 114 and 115, those are called renewable sources, renewable resources, meaning we will always have them. We'll always have air, we'll always have water, okay, because of our atmosphere and the water cycle, because it rains, we will always have these. On page 116 and 117, those are non-renewable resources. So if we don't continue to plant trees once we've cut them down, that's it. We won't have trees. And as we drill in the ground to get the coal and the oil and the natural gas, that's not renewable. Once it's done, it's done. That's why we are trying to find new ways to heat our homes, to run our cars, that's why we're using the wind turbines and water for electricity rather than using coal and oil and natural gas, because once it's done, it's done. So those are non-renewable. So once they're gone, that's it. Let's turn the page. Remember that, because that's part of number 4. Okay. Now, page 118, caring for our resources. With so many people living on Earth, we must protect our resources. Conservation is the saving of resources to make them last longer, kind of like the coal and the oil and the gas and the trees. Recycling is another way to save resources. When we recycle, we use something again in a new way. So when we recycle, we usually recycle glass, plastics, aluminum. And the reason we recycle those, it's not because we're going to run out of those. It's because if we continue to throw them away, our landfills or our dumps are going to be bigger than our neighborhoods, and we're just going to live on trash. So we need to be able to recycle those so we don't have as much trash to deal with. If we do not take care of our natural resources, they can become dirty. Anything that makes the air, land, or water dirty is called pollution. Clean air, water, and land help all living things stay healthy. So we're doing a really good job taking care of our land, water, and air to keep them clean. When I was a kid, they actually had things called smog days, and you had to stay inside because when you'd go outside to play, there was so much dirt in the air that it would hurt your lungs to breathe. I don't know if you have any pools that use chlorine, but if you've ever gone swimming all day long in a pool that's got a lot of chlorine in it, you get out and it hurts your lungs to breathe. It's kind of like a little sharp pain. And that's what the smog days were like without even being in a pool. You'd go outside and you'd play and you'd get this hurt in your lungs. And when we drive down the freeway, there was trash everywhere. Everywhere. It was disgusting. I don't know who they thought was going to pick up their trash, but there was trash everywhere. And then they started the Adopt a Highway program where people would volunteer to clean up sections of the highway. So now when we go down the highway, we don't see a bunch of trash. And we also used to dump trash and chemicals that weren't being used anymore, and paint and anything we needed into our water system. So living in California, they dumped it in the oceans, and it made the oceans very dirty. There were days we couldn't go swimming because the ocean was too dirty. So the beach would be closed and they would actually have signs on the beach closed, water dirty. So now we don't have those. We don't have smog days. We don't have a bunch of trash on the freeway, and our water is a lot cleaner. You can actually see blue in the sky. When I was younger, there were very few days that you could see blue. It was very gray because we didn't take care of anything. So you guys are lucky. We're taking a lot better care of our resources and our earth now. So how does conservation help protect our resources? Well, it will make them last longer if we conserve electricity, and we conserve water, and we conserve gas and oil and coal. It will last longer because we know if we run out, we're done. And if we plant new trees, the trees will continue to grow so we can still use wood. And another thing trees do is the trees give us oxygen. Plants give us oxygen. We breathe in oxygen and we breathe out carbon dioxide. The plants breathe in the carbon dioxide and breathe out oxygen. So the two of us working together keeps us both alive. And we can also make sure our air and our water and our land stay clean, because if your air is dirty, you're not going to have a lot to breathe. It's going to hurt to breathe like it did back when I was a kid. And the water will be dirty. You won't be able to go swimming. You won't be able to drink it. And it's not nice to drive down the freeway and see trash piled up. It was everywhere. It was bad. So thank God for these people that decided to adopt freeways and clean up. Okay, so now we're going to answer number 1 and number 4. Okay, so I've started them out just like I would if it was on our board. Okay, and look, I even gave you the page numbers to find them. Yeah, just like if we were in class, right? So number 1 says, what natural resources do people use? How do they use them? So what I did is I wrote people use, and you put in a natural resource, 2, and that's where you're going to find it. So what are we going to find on page 114? Let's look back on page 114. 114, we're going to find out how people use air. Oh, is that one of our natural resources? And then people use blank for blank, 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 and blank. You'll find that on 115. Let's look at 115. What are we going to find on 115? People use water. Is that one of our natural resources? Yes. And then you're going to write how people use water. Then people use blank for blank, blank, and blank. And you'll find that on 116 and 17. Well, let's find out what's on page 116 and 117. People use land. Is that a natural resource? Yes, it is. So you're going to find the answers to that one on 116 and 117. And let's look at number 4. Number 4 says, what would happen if we didn't take care of our natural resources? So our resources would blank and blank or blank. You'll find it on 119. Well, you're only going to find one on 119 because it says they would get dirty. You're not going to find the other one on 119 because I talked about it. What's going to happen to the ones that we can't replace? What's going to happen to the trees if we don't plant trees? What's going to happen to the coal if we don't conserve it? What's going to happen to oil if we don't conserve it? What's going to happen to natural gas if we don't conserve it? What's going to happen? It's going to go this, right? It's going to go bye-bye. It's going to be gone. Okay. So I need you to answer these questions on a piece of paper. Write them in complete sentences. Here's another look. Write them in complete sentences. Capital at the beginning, period at the end, and that's it. Okay, have a good day.